Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today we are looking at different types of mergers and labor unions. First off, types of mergers. First one we're going to look at is a horizontal merger. This is the combination of companies that are producing similar goods or offering similar services. So it'll be something that you would think of immediately. Two companies that are usually competitors. For example, McDonald's would buy Burger King. Horizontal merger, they sell the same type of thing. Pepsi bought Coke, that would be a horizontal merger. Okay. Vertical merger. This is the combination of two companies producing different goods or services, but they're working towards the same specific product. So this would be as if McDonald's decides to buy a beef producer. They can skip that step and buy the beef producer, be part of it, and they can save money. Conglomerates are when businesses merge together or a combination of businesses come together that are making entirely different businesses. And so usually these are very large and they are multinational. We'll take a look at a website really quick so that you guys can see what that conglomerate would look like. Here is a map. These are conglomerates, so Nestle, Kraft, Coca-Cola, General Mills, PepsiCo, Kellogg's, Mars, Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble's right here. And so let's take a look at Nestle. Okay, Nestle is making Wonka, all of these treats that we see here, Kit Kat, Crunch Bar, those you could probably name. They have some ice cream products here, some more Nerds, things like that. Then they also have Gerber, Power Bar, Carnation is the dried milk. We see some pet foods right here. Giorgio Armani, Diesel, all of these included going to the conglomerate of Nestle. You see the same thing for Procter & Gamble. If I pull out, you see they have some cleaning supplies, some other cleaning supplies here, family things. And then we see Boss, CoverGirl, and Pringles and Iams. What are they? Those have nothing to do with one another. Why are they selling those? These main ones in the middle are conglomerates. And so if you guys are interested, you can check that out a little bit more. So it's a big company that is working with smaller divisions of that company that do not necessarily have anything to do with one another. Okay, they're engaged in entirely different businesses. So, car manufacturer that we see here, let's say Ford. If Ford is going to have a horizontal merger, then it would merge with another car manufacturer, for example, Honda. If Ford bought Honda or vice versa, that is a horizontal merger. But let's say that Ford wants to step into the vertical merging line. This means that it wants to have something to do with how the materials, supplies maybe are getting to them. So what they're going to do is the Ford manufacturer is going to look at its supplier. It's going to move backwards, the things that it usually purchases. So Ford is going to look at a supplier for, say, tires. And Ford will see that maybe Goodyear is not giving them a good enough price, so they want to buy Goodyear. If it wants to go even further, it would go back to the rubber supply. And so maybe they want to buy a rubber farm from the rubber trees in Africa. And once you have those, now you can control the flow of tires that are coming into the creation and production of your car if you are Ford. If you want to move in a forward vertical merge, then Ford would buy the car dealership. So the Mooresville Ford dealership is the car dealership, and now Ford is in connection with that. They get a piece of the sale of the car at the dealership. If they want to buy Jiffy Lube, then that's where the car would be serviced. and all the way down to finally we get to the car buyer. Okay, so labor unions. Labor unions are a labor union is an association of wage earners. All these people come together, the laborers, for the purpose of improving the conditions of their work environment. And labor unions basically match the strength of the merger or the corporation. Okay, so when a corporation merges, then they have more power because they're affecting more aspects of the production of their good or service. The response from the human laborers is the labor union. There are craft unions, so we see here like electrical and maybe plumbing, and then we have trade unions. In trade unions, we see here we have the United Auto Workers Association. Okay, so the United Auto Workers will take in anyone could be someone who's working at Ford's manufacturing assembly, or it could be the engineer who's working at the assembly. It includes everyone. Collective bargaining is the term used to represent workers when workers pay dues. So to join, if North Carolina does not have teachers unions, but when I lived in Texas, there were teachers unions, and the teachers that were in the teachers unions had to pay dues, monthly dues. If a teacher got sued, then they would have a representative free of charge to them. If they were part of the labor union, then they would get free representation, free legal representation. That was one of the main draws, I guess, for being part of the union. Everybody benefited in Texas from there being labor unions because they paid teachers pretty well. They had worked, these labor unions represented all of the teachers in the state of Texas, and as a result, long before I got there, those labor unions had already established a really nice salary for an average salary for teachers. So one of the differences in seeing teachers who have worked in different states is they can say, oh, this state doesn't have unions, therefore, there's a pretty good chance that they'll have lower salaries, things like that. If you are the business owner, the state for a teacher is the sort of the owner. I guess it's not really a business, but they don't like the unions. And the laborer, in general, would like a union. Rather than each worker facing the bosses alone, the union speaks for all of the workers together. This is, you can think about an assembly line situation. If somebody decided that they didn't want to color in the butterflies when we did the assembly line, that wouldn't have been a problem. They just would have been, replaced. Somebody else would have worked. But if you all decided, no, we don't want to do this, and you had unified before and brought your union in and said collective bargaining power, you wanted me to bring in treats or something like that, it would have been negotiated before you would have finished the coloring. But that would have been you guys using collective bargaining. When arguments cannot be reached between the unions and management of the company, there is mediation. That's when they try to bring in a third party to facilitate the agreement. If that does not work, it goes to arbitration. And that's, usually a third party, an independent third party who's going to make some suggestions that are binding. That means that, so mediation is just a third party trying to facilitate the agreement, having a conversation. Arbitration is more of a legal step. These decisions are binding their legal contracts. Strikes are called by unions when the negotiations fail. This is the power of the union in action. We think about Cesar Chavez out in California and the labor strikes of the harvesters, the grape harvesters, and so they went on strike. And the grape harvest in California was integral to a lot of the companies for the wine out in California, and makes a lot of money. They're very wealthy companies. And when Cesar Chavez was able to get the migrant workers to strike. When they did it collectively, so that people wouldn't be fired, when they all did it together, they were able to really make a difference because the companies couldn't survive without the labor. No one else was going to go out there. The business or the company can respond with a lockout. This is when a business is going to decide that they will shut down and not pay their workers, obviously. If the workers go on strike, then the company just shuts down. They're not going to turn the lights on. They're not going to pay the bills for a set period of time, and they're going to try to wait them out, wait the strike out. It becomes a game of chicken or a waiting game to see who will break first. The workers are not going to get paid. The company is not making any money either. So the company might say, okay, we can make it 6 months with this, factory shut down, but the workers maybe can't make it 6 months without a job. So it becomes who's going to break first. If the workers break their strike and go back before the lockout is broken, they might go back to worse conditions than they had before they had their strike. So a lockout is a negotiation tactic for management, and that's when a company will close the plant. And obviously the workers are losing their source of income. All right, that's it for today. Make sure that your vocab is up to date. Again, this is video 16, and from 15 and 16 now you should have business component, your dream business component 6 finished.